Hello, everybody. Sorry about that little hiccup. My Zoom would not work with my laptop properly, but we can go ahead and get started now. My name is Shara Taylor. I am an urban development specialist at MDHA. And tonight I will be presenting a follow-up to our first Rutledge Redevelopment District meeting that we had a couple weeks ago. Tonight, we're going to discuss TIF priorities. I'll go over a little bit of background of Rutledge Hill, and my colleague Matt Loftus, who's the Assistant Director of Urban Development, will discuss the TIF program in more detail, and we'll show you examples of TIF projects that have occurred in the district. So this is our agenda that I just alluded to. We'll do a review of the previous meeting, discuss existing TIF projects, and talk about potential TIF priorities. So from the last meeting, we went over the objectives and goals of the redevelopment plan for Rutledge Hill, and I'll just highlight some of the main parts of those objectives and goals. We would like to have harmonious land use patterns, provide for the redevelopment of the project area, create mixed use development near the central business district, promote the development of an arts district, and provide safe pedestrian ways. We'd also like to see rehabilitation and reuse of older structures, encourage housing for all income levels, establish standards and goals, which we do through our redevelopment plan and our design review committee. We also want to study the area under the Shelby Street Bridge to become a pedestrian link between the amphitheater and the rest of downtown. Provide sites for services and retail facilities, as well as eliminate and prevent blight and eliminate vacant lots. So this is a little bit of history of Rutledge Hill. Of the district. It was established in 1980 and is scheduled to end in 2040. In 1999, the total appraised property values were 77.8 million. And in 2021, they were over 2 billion. This is a map of the district. As you can see, it's bisected by Korean Veterans Boulevard. It covers a little part of downtown going up toward Broadway. Stops right before you get to Broadway. It goes over to the river on the east, bounded on the west by 4th Avenue South. And to the south of the district, we have Lindsley Avenue and the block to the south of Lindsley. And now I will hand it over to my colleague, Matt Loftus, to talk about our tax increment financing program. Matt.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'll just talk about TIF here a little bit. So TIF stands for tax increment financing. This is a public financing tool that MDHA has the ability to use. There's also the mayor's office has some ability to use it as well, and it's a pretty common public financing tool in the United States, and it's basically it allows us to use the future gains in property taxes to subsidize current improvements, and this is based on the notion that MDHA or a public entity can invest money up front, invest actual capital up front into a project or to a district, and then get paid back with the incremental increase in the property taxes that are generated after that investment is made. And so we can we can support projects up front and then pay ourselves back with a portion of the property taxes that are generated afterwards. And so this last little sentence. So with MDHA's authority of TIF is limited to only within our redevelopment districts. And of course, we're talking about Rutledge Hill now. We have several others throughout the city, mostly in the core area of downtown and the surroundings. So in order to receive TIF, there's a couple of considerations. The first one is just sort of mathematical. So whether or not, sorry, the first one is not mathematical. The first one's more qualitative. So does it actually represent a significant contribution to the goals of the district? Shara's talked about that goals in a previous meeting and just sort of highlighted them. The second thing is if a proposed development will further, if it will catalyze additional development and help sort of create momentum within an area. Once the TIF loan is repaid, then the Metro government receives all of the future tax revenues and it just flows right back into the general fund. And yeah, here we go. Okay, so also just a little note on that. I'm some of the slides, not sure what's coming up, but the we have historically used TIF in a couple of ways. The first is to just assist in the development of a very specific parcel. And so we'll go through some of those later on. I think an example we'll show here is the Encore building, or we had the general hospital buildings. We're able to go in and upfront invest in the redevelopment of a certain parcel. That parcel will then come online, generate future property taxes, and then we'll be able to pay ourselves back with that initial investment. We're also able to do area-wide investments. So we can, this generally helps support infrastructure. So we can go in and make investments in infrastructure. And as surrounding parcels increase in value, we can pay ourselves back with a portion of those property taxes as well. And so the amount of TIF assistance, and this is what I was trying to get to earlier, the amount of TIF assistance that's available for any particular development is restricted to the amount of debt that the projected tax increment would be able to carry. And so this is based on what the current base of your taxes are and what the future potential taxes could be. And that delta, that difference, will essentially become a debt payment for a TIF loan. And so it's restricted by the amount of debt that it could possibly handle. And then the other factor is what the eligible uses of TIF are. And the state of Tennessee has outlined what are eligible uses for tax increment financing. And so these uses are things such as land acquisition. We can clear and remediate. So environmental remediation, things like that. Relocation. So if we've used it before for relocating public services, or even things like a grocery store relocation. We can use it for public infrastructure. So sidewalks, or moving utilities, or adding new utilities. We can use it, as we have within Rutledge Hill, for parks and public plazas. We can use it to support parking and parking garages, green initiatives, environmental initiatives, and we can also use it for any associated planning and administrative costs.
All right, thanks, Matt. And now I'll go through a few examples of some TIF projects we have in Rutledge Hill. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with these. The first one is the St. Paul AME Church that was redeveloped in 1994. It received TIF for adaptive reuse for the offices for an architectural firm, and it is also used as an event space. The second one is the Encore that Matt mentioned a little while ago. It received TIF in 2006, and it was the first residential development south of Broadway. It's a 20-story mixed-use development. The developer assembled several parcels of land at the intersection of the Mumbrian and 3rd Ave South. It has 333 condominiums and 22,000 square feet of retail space, along with structured parking. The next one is the General Hospital buildings. They received TIF in 2007, and it was the rehabilitation of the old Metro General Hospital up on Rolling Mill Hill. It has 36 condos and another 36 units in a new building, along with underground parking. And the trolley barns received TIF in 2013. This is actually where our department is located. It was the adaptive reuse of former public works buildings built in the 1940s under the government's New Deal plan. It's a mixed-use development with office space and a full-service restaurant, Pinewood Social, for those of you who are familiar with it. And it is on the National Register of Historic Places. And these pictures, the picture at the top is how it looked, and the picture at the bottom is how it looks presently. And we have Terra House, which is also on Rolling Mill Hill, that received TIF in 2014. They used it for soil remediation for the first mixed use residential development on Rolling Mill Hill, and furtherance of the Rolling Mill Hill Master Redevelopment Plan. And connected to that project is the River House project that received TIF the following year in 2015, also for soil remediation as part of phase 2 of mixed use residential development on Rolling Mill Hill, in support again of the Rolling Mill Hill Master Redevelopment Plan. And for potential TIF priorities, we really want to hear from you to get your thoughts on how you think the redevelopment district has performed so far and what priorities we should consider going forward from now until the end of the redevelopment district being in effect. These are just examples. So affordable housing, grocery store, small retail, infrastructure, and historic resources such as for adaptive reuse or rehabilitation can be potential TIF priorities as long as they fit under what the state allows, that list that Matt provided earlier. As long as they fit that, then they could be potential TIF priorities. So be thinking about that. I'm going to open it up for comments here in a minute, and I'd love to get your feedback. And if you need to contact me directly with any questions or comments, you can do so at my email address, staylor@nashville-mdha.org, or at my direct line at 252-8540. And I don't know if Matt or Joe want to add anything before I open it up to the floor. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to those of you who have questions and comments for us. Dee?
Yeah, hi. I live off of Lindsley, and I'm on our street. We have several, I think 3 now, state program buildings. I don't think that we need any more because the people that have invested in homes, it needs to be spread out a little bit and not just all on Lindsley. And I was interested on the property that goes across the street from Lindsley that seems to just be vacant still. There was some development that's going to happen over there. And then for a suggestion, right there as you come where the new Airbnb little place just went up, do they have any plans maybe to put like some traffic lights? Because I mean, that little area coming in and out from Lindsley, there's wrecks there every day. So it just seems like there needs to be a little bit of traffic control there as well. And the ongoing issue of the bridge and the glass and the trash. I mean, the trash off of Lindsley Place, it's disgusting. So basically all of those points are what I have.
So the first point you said, state housing?
Yeah, there's 3 buildings and one's just going up. I think it's going to be like reform for people coming out of prison or something like that on Lindsley. We have like a house. There's 2 halfway houses. I'm not real sure what the proper names are for them, but they're state programs. I guess I'm just calling it. I don't really know, but they're like halfway houses for people. And that's all fine and dandy, but we can't have all of those on our street, on one street.
What's the cross street? I'm not familiar with those developments.
It's between First Avenue and Second Avenue on Lindsley.
On Lindsley.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the businesses that are on Academy Place, right there by the bank, the credit union.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Hermitage.
Well, Hermitage and First, it's all the same. Yeah, Hermitage, and then Second Avenue. Between First and Second Avenue, there's Lindsley.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with those. Joe, do you know?
God,
state
right behind Howard School Building, Academy Square.
I do know there are a couple of nonprofits in there that have that are working to place people in housing. So yes, I don't think they're actually under a state program, but they probably do receive grant funds to be able to assist them on what they're doing over in there that are in that area. Of course, at the corner, you have at the corner of Second, you have the church, and then you start coming on back, and at the corner of Hermitage, you have the new construction that took place. And so it's the stuff in between where the bridge is, where the pedestrian bridge is. We have the event space at the where the bridge comes, where the bridge lands. I can't recall the name of that, where they do that event space.
Yeah, the wedding.
I do believe that the state is looking at redoing that pedestrian bridge. They're relooking at a lot of stuff in the downtown area, and that's one thing that's being looked at. We certainly do understand your concerns, and that has been an issue. We're aware of some, but so potentially some bad, is it being a potentially even a crime area down in there, with some of those things that have been taking place in there. And we do not have any applications for any new conversions of stuff in there. We have, of course, the Nova Copy has vacated those premises, and someone wanted to redevelop that project. That hasn't not yet started in that area. The idea is to bring, the best solution for these is to put more eyes on the street.
Right. Because some of the housing, like some of the condos on our street, people are spending $500,000-$600,000 to live here. And, it's very unbalanced, as you just stated.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, that kind of comes with in the urban living portion of it, but that is something that we are aware of. And we are, and we are working on from a planning perspective to try and bring some new development into the area that could, like I said, help put more eyes on the street, which would help prevent the eyesores that you're seeing, the littering, the glass, and some of those other things out there with people watching what's going on. And so we appreciate your comment on this. It's not something that we actually get to control, but it is something that we can help and start to work with. We did help kind of clean up that area where the new event space is a few years ago, but obviously time has, taken its toll, and it needs to be looked at again.
Yeah, like I'm one of those people that I have the higher end property, and sometimes I can't even walk my dog on the sidewalk. There's so much trash. I mean, there's hypodermic needles, there's dirty baby diapers just right in the middle of the sidewalk. It's pretty disgusting.
Have you contacted Public Works about that?
Oh yeah. I've contacted several times, and they do come out and clean. I mean, and it's really bad when there's events, downtown. Right. And I'm a city girl. I lived in New York. I've lived here. I live in the city. I'm all about living in the city, and it gets pretty bad.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Is there litter on private property too, or is it mostly on the sidewalks and in the streets?
Well, I mean, people, I can't really speak about people's private property, but one of my main concerns is just walking my dog, and like,
Right.
I can't even do that sometimes. I have to go up to Howard School, and because they keep their property nice up there and they allow the dogs to come up, and everybody needs to do their part, and people need to pick up their dog poop so we don't lose that privilege. That's a frustrating thing too, but and then the traffic there coming out of that Lindsley Hermitage area, there seems to be a lot of accidents there. So that was one of my other points. And then my last question, so I don't other people can talk. Do they plan on putting a grocery store anywhere? Because that would be really nice.
I have not seen any plans for one come through. I'm on the design review committee that reviews the projects that come through. And I have not seen any plans for a grocery store.
Yeah, they have a little market, a fresh market opened up on 4th, but they're never open. I don't know if they have staffing issues or what, but that's about the only thing you can walk to.
Okay. So you would say we should consider grocery stores as one of our TIF priorities?
I think so. I think we need a at least a produce kind of marketplace.
Yeah, because there's not one in that general vicinity, is there?
No, you have to get in a car.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. That was helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, and this is Matt with MDHA. Just a point on the grocery store, and I think that's a good point. If you think about all of the whole entire Sobro area, there's not really an actual grocery store over there. And as Shara said, we work in this district, so we're pretty familiar with it. But yeah, the grocers are also just very formulaic on where they go in, the locations they go into, and they're looking at number of residents within a certain distance. And I think just as the area continues to add residences and add housing units, it will just become more and more attractive for a grocery operator to come in and set up shop.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Gina Tech, and I'm a member at Lindsley Avenue Church of Christ. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you looking at the neighborhood as a whole and considering all the needs. We're very committed to staying in the community and being a community resource. We get calls every week about people that want to purchase our property at very large sums, but our intention is to stay there and be part of the community. So I'm glad to hear comments about looking at it as not just more condos, but as a variety of businesses and resources for the community, like the grocery store, parks. The upkeep on the bridge is very important, so that where our neighborhoods were split by the interstate, of course, so many years ago, that we can bring those neighborhoods back together and have a diverse community. So I think if we can make that inviting so that people feel safe walking back and forth on that bridge. So, any redevelopment of that, lighting, keeping it clean is really important. So thank you for all you're doing. I did want to follow up on the mention about the Nova property, which is our neighbor. I had heard there was a car dealership coming there. Is that still the plan, or do you know?
I do not know. Joe, have you heard anything?
There was a plan submitted that it would be essentially a high-end automobile sale. I'm an old folk guy. So, but apparently the purchasing of automobiles has completely changed. It's all kind of internet, all based on what they do. They would have very limited vehicles on the space, but one that you could, essentially be delivered there and you could go pick it up there type of situation. And we did see that came through. The building was going to be completely revamped on how it looked. With that, they were planning on reusing the building, but they're going to put a new face on all sides of it as well. But we don't know what has happened to those preliminary plans that were submitted. It was probably about a year ago, almost. So don't know if they've found another location or anything from that. We have not heard from them in the past several months.
Oh, I don't remember that coming through.
Where is the Nova building? Is that-
It's on the north side of Lindsley. It's the metal building. Is the Nova copy.
right there where the traffic problem is.
Well, it's right. I mean, the church is at the corner, so it's
Yeah.
as she mentioned, it's adjacent to the
Okay.
church there, same side of
Okay.
the street.
Okay.
And to Gina's point about the pedestrian bridge, what you mentioned with the lighting and making it inviting could be considered public infrastructure, which we actually allowed to use TIF money for. So thank you for your comment. Anyone else?
Do y'all have a plan for the building that is across from that? It's sort of just like an old building. It might have been a part of the hospital back in the day. It's just vacant, almost vacant land now.
Across from,
Okay, so like right where we were talking about, where
Mhm.
the new Airbnb has come on the opposite side of Lindsley.
uh-huh.
If you just went right across the street, it's like an old building.
Oh, that's Metro land.
So okay.
Yeah, we don't own that. That's Metro.
That
But there-
actually belongs to the state.
Oh,
That property, Metro is in negotiations with them. There has been discussions about creating a what's called Wharf Park. Metro has acquired all the property that goes down to the river, and that there would be a whole new park created right down there that goes all the way down to the river. And they're in negotiations with the state to perhaps acquire that property because the state has no longer uses it, obviously, as you said, with that. So there are plans on Metro Park's website. You could look at Wharf Park. They've had some community meetings. They say they've had some community meetings. I've been in one or two meetings with them about that, but that is a project where Metro has acquired the property down on the low end, all the way down to the river, and plans on constructing a park with access directly to the river, even putting in, perhaps a rowing station and some other interactive activities for the neighborhood and for the city as a whole.
Yeah, and it's so sad. I was down there walking my dog not long ago, and just this year, the homeless community and the tents down there by the river, it's just, I couldn't believe how it's like tripled. I wish we could figure out something for people. It's real sad. I mean, there are so many tents down there now. I've never seen so many. But again, that's a Metro problem, I guess.
yes, I know they're working on their initiatives to try to address homelessness, but it's a long road.
It is. We could get some good ideas from New Orleans. They came up with some good stuff, with the container areas and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a sad problem to have.
Yeah. Any other questions and comments? If not, I will thank you for joining us and wish you a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.